right, so here we go. Today we're going to continue what we started last week, which is the ST endings, well, the ST cluster. Before we did it in the initial sounds, and now we're going to do it in the end of words. And not just any word, but we're going to figure out how to do that precisely and also in the top most important words with this combination at the end of words in all of English. So it's going to be pretty how should I say? I don't want to say easy, simple. It's going to be simple because I like to break it down and your articulation is going to get better. And then when you apply it to these words, which are super common, all of your speech is going to get better easily already. So here we go. Now, these are the words that we're going to go through. It tells you the numbers, and those numbers are important because what is their ranking? It's what their ranking is in the top 300, well, top of all of the words. What's wrong with me today? I generally focus on the top 365 words in English, all right? All the most important words. That's like a whole year of going back to fix mistakes that you might have learned not on purpose in school or wherever you learn English. So these are the 7 final ST cluster words in English. And there's kind of a bonus at the end. So let's keep going then. First, let's start with the actual way to do S's and T's. I want to say correctly because probably in most languages you have an S and you have a T, but you might be doing it a little bit differently. So we're going to talk about these. You might notice some differences. And by the way, feel free to put anything in the chat that you don't think is clear, or if you want other examples, or if you have any other questions like that. And by the way, the reason I'm doing this now live is so that you can be here and you can ask questions. So I want to see if people, want to show up, if they have the time, if they want some extra live help. And that's why I'm testing these out. And I'm doing it with these 365 words. And so if you are here, write something in the comments so that I know that you're here and I can give you a quick shout out. And the other reason that I do this on Tuesdays is because every Thursday in my community we have a free special event. If you happen to be watching this live, right now it's April 14th, then that means that this week we have our storytelling event, which is, really useful in any language, but if you need some practice in English, I think sometimes even if we're good storytellers in our first language, it doesn't always translate. We don't quite feel as funny, or we don't quite know the method behind it. So join my free community, and day after tomorrow, there is a free storytelling event. So I'm going to walk you through all the steps and you'll get feedback there because we think that feedback is one of the most important things that you can do. And it could be in language or it could be in pronunciation and accent. So let's look at the slides again. You might notice something different about how we kind of define these. We'll talk about that in a second. The first thing to notice is that they're both unvoiced. You hear me talking about voicing quite a lot. Don't worry, I'll zoom in on this chart in a second, but it's going to show you where in relation is the S and the T compared to other consonants in English, right? And this is in English, obviously, so it doesn't have all the sounds of the world. And like I said, in some languages, you might have the same sound or recognize it or label it as the same sound, but it might be articulated slightly differently. So I want you to think about that. Now let's zoom in there. Let's start with the S sound, which you might know could be spelled sometimes with a C, or sometimes, it can be different in the spelling, but let's talk about the sound. Now, when I situate that on the chart, I've got two important things. Number one, the place where I'm making the sound. Number two, how the air is treated when I'm doing that, right? And you might notice in this box, there's two sounds here. There's S, and there's Z. The bottom one means it's voiced, meaning your vocal folds are vibrating. So S, Z, that's the only difference between the two. So where do I put my tongue? This says alveolar, which is that bump behind your teeth, right? So behind your teeth, you probably feel a ridge or a bump. We call that the alveolar ridge. So your tongue is going to go there. And how do we treat the air? Fricative means there's friction there. So your tongue should be on the bump, but creating friction. So some people say, oh, don't feel it touching. You'll feel the friction between the two. So And again, it's probably a sound you already have in your language, but just think about, in relation to the bump, where is your tongue? Is it more on the back side? Is it more kind of on the underside? Is it more towards the front, scooting towards the teeth? The syllabants of these sounds can vary quite a lot. So for me, I'm creating that friction right at the kind of bottom side of the bump, right on the, if I lift my tongue up more than behind the bump. So you might think, come on, S's are so easy. We already have them. But it's worth thinking about, I think. Now, what about the next one? Most languages have a t sound, some kind of t sound. But again, there's actually quite a lot of real estate inside your mouth where you can play around with some of this articulation. You see it's also on the bump, but what's the difference? That one's at what we call a stop sound, so I need to put my tongue there to stop the air, and then I'll release it and explode it. So plosives, they're also called. T. Push nice and hard, T, and then release all that force. T, T, T. In some languages, the T is lighter, right? You don't release it quite as hard. Or like we said, on some places, for some languages, your tongue might be a little bit more behind or a little bit more forward. Think about Spanish in Spain, right? In Castilian Spanish, theirs is going to be a lot more forward if that's the language that you speak. So yeah, and also in Mexican Spanish too, I believe it's much more forward. So a T is a T is a T is a T? Not exactly, right? So let's think about putting them together now. Now I've got my tongue on the bump. Actually, let me grab this handy model. If you haven't seen this before, this is my big mouth that helps a lot. And so we're talking about the bump right here, right? And so friction is s, and then I push t and explode. St, 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 st. Like the word stop, stop, st, t. Sorry, I did that wrong. Stop. Remember not to voice those like I just did. I just made a mistake. It kind of sounded like a D. St, d, stop. That's not what we want, actually. St, st, st. No voicing for either of those. That would be a mistake, technically. So now let's take that st cluster and let's put it at the ends of the words, in the top most common words where this is a thing. So a word I use all the time, probably every day, I would say. I've got the word J-U-S-T, and then this is the IPA spelling for people who don't know. IPA, English, sorry, I was gonna say it's not a beer. It's the International Phonetic Alphabet. International Phonetic Alphabet. So, we know that spelling sucks in English. It's terrible, especially with the vowels. It's really hard to tell, you know, what am I supposed to say here? It's not transparent in its spelling. So if you can, you might want to pick up a couple of IPA symbols, especially for sounds you're not so good with or spellings you're not so good with, and then use that, because that's the sound that you're after. So you might look at this letter J, right? And if you're a Spanish speaker, you're thinking it's more of a Y sound, but no, for us it's a J, as in juice or January. So that distinction can be really important, especially with vowels in English. So IPA when you can. I'm gonna put it in here, not saying learn it though. We've got J-U-S-T, and this one's not super tricky, but we do want to pay attention to this first sound. Remember we said stop and friction? Well, if I put those in order, if I stop and then do friction, that's our J sound. J, J. I'm stopping the air, then I'm giving friction as I release. J, J. And then this one over here kind of looks like an umbrella. If I think about the word umbrella, it's umbrella. J, 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 J. And then our final cluster that we just talked about. St, st, just, just, just. I stop, I have friction, I have the as an umbrella sound, which is not in most languages, and then I say st, st at the end. That's what we're going to practice today, the st at the end, and all these really important common words. So just, just, just. If you're with me live, try to put a sentence with just, or even some other j words in there. Put it in the chat box. I'd love to see if you guys are listening. So Next one. I use this word every day probably. It's number 91 in the whole list of all the most important words in English. 91, pretty far up there. So in this case, the thing that is maybe sticking out at me is probably that vowel. If you've never seen this before, this rotated E, that's what we call schwa. And schwa is the most important vowel in English. So it's actually the most important sound, consonants and vowels in English. So if you don't know that one, it's relax your lips, everything in the middle, tongue, jaw, I've got my ST at the end, and then I've got an R before that. That's what we call a vocalic R. Why? Because it's after a vowel. So it's what I need to do. Let me grab, actually, it's really important, so let's take a quick break. My schwa is right in the middle. This is my tongue. And then I lift my tongue for the R, and I make sure to touch the molars. I'm just lifting. And the sides of the tongue are touching the molars. That's what we call a vocalic R. We have another kind of R in English. So we've got this vocalic R. We've got the schwa right before it. We've got our ST at the end. Let's just do that part. Lift, forward on the bump, st, erst. This is an interesting word, and anytime this happens, pay attention. If you have sounds which do not include your tongue, that's actually a good thing because your tongue is so busy making so many sounds. Look at this one. This one starts with an F, right? With the f sound. Well, what is an F exactly? My tongue isn't doing anything. It's my teeth and my bottom lips, my top teeth and bottom lips. That's where the friction is created. So, if my tongue is not busy during that sound, my tongue can go ahead and get ready for that schwa. So my tongue is there, it's ready to jump up for the R. First. F's are also interesting because they're not actually in all the languages. You think, oh, it's pretty common, but it's worldwide. It's not in all the languages. So if I take that F sound and I add the voicing, keep the lips and the tongue and the teeth the same, that's how I get my V sound. This is the only change right here. But in some languages, you have an F and a B like Bianca, and they kind of do it the same. So what is a B then? At least in English, it should be two lips together, no teeth involved. B. That's a stop sound, that's an explosion, right? And the F is a friction sound. So in some languages, F's and B's are similar, and in English, F's and V's are similar. And for us, the articulation is very different, and the difference between F's and V's is only the voicing. But F and B have a lot of different things about them. So, well, not a lot, but it's the articulation that's different. So we've got first. The reason I take my time, the reason I go so slowly with these is because we often don't stop and think about it. We learned it, we did it, we keep doing it, but our muscle memory doesn't have to be always correct. It doesn't mean that it's correct is what I'm trying to say. Just because I've been saying it for years and years doesn't mean that it's correct. In fact, most of my students or clients, when they come to me, it's not the mistakes that they're making with low frequency academic words, like TOEFL words and things like that, because they studied them, but it's mistakes that they make with the most basic words. Even if they're at a C1 level, C2 level, right? They're still making A2 mistakes and A2 mistakes or A1 mistakes even. All these words that I'm telling you guys, these are words you probably learned first thing in your English class, right? And you learn them wrong, maybe, or not quite correct, and then that you just kept doing it, and now you've got this muscle memory that tells your brain, oh yes, this is how to say this word, But in fact, we have to kind of reprogram that. So you might think, why is she doing such basic words? That's the reason. And I want to tell you how important each word is so that you take that into account, right? And so if I'm going to spend some time reviewing my old mistakes, I'm going to want to know what's important to review. This one is interesting. Look, it's got two possible vowels here. Everything else is the same. We have that ST ending, st, st, right? But now what's the difference? We just said we have two kinds of R's, right? We also have two kinds of L's in English as well. This one is what we call the regular L. We haven't talked about the regular R yet. We talked about the vocalic R. This is the regular L. What do I mean by that? I know in some languages like Russian, you know, you'll have a kind of a light and what do they call it? Soft and hard L, right? And here we have regular and then we have dark L. You might have heard of dark L before. This is our regular L. And it's not about soft or hard or how much pressure. It's more about what is your tongue doing. So right on the bump, again, the L is la 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 la. And then at the end we have our, back on the bump, we have our S and our T, st, 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 st. But then the vowel is going to be your choice. It's either going to go in the front, your tongue, or it's going to go in the back. And let me demonstrate what the differences are. I prefer the first one myself. So the first one is the front A sound, la, last, last. So top, down, back up. Last, last, last. Or you might have people, instead of putting their tongue down and forward, they pull their tongue back, right? So to me, I don't like this version as much because it sounds like I can't find my way. I'm L-O-S-T, I'm lost, right? It's too close to that, lost. And this one is a little bit more open and back, lost. The last time I went to the movies, I didn't buy popcorn, for example. La, ah, ah. That's the ah as in box, for example. So your choice, right? You can do one or the other. To me personally, only like my grandmother says lost, and there's groups of people who say that, and that's not so much geography, but it's more age-based usually. But people still say it. Most people say the first one, ah, tongue in the front, jaw very wide open, last. And that's where most people get it wrong in English because their A is in the center. So no. Most of the time in American English, it's going to be in the front or in the back. And I just said most of the time. So let's keep going with these then. We have our st at the end. We have our M at the front. M. What did we just say? Sounds that do not employ the tongue are really nice because they can allow us to speak more quickly because I can then get ready for my articulation of other sounds. So M is what we call bilabial, two lips. But here's the thing. Where's the air when I say an M? It's actually in my nose. It's called a nasal sound. We have three nasals in English, M, N, and NG. And only those three sounds should there be air coming out your nose, right? You've got a little flap in the back, and that flap allows air to go in the nose, or it closes it off and only makes it go into the mouth, right? So our M is a nasal sound, but then the rest are not. So try to get the air out your mouth then. The next thing we have here, if you notice, there's two vowels together. We call that a diphthong when there's two vowels together. So if you think of the word B-O-A-T, O, boat, boat, boat. I'm starting with the sound that's in many languages, but in English it's not usually all by itself. It's not just it's almost, no, I don't want to say almost always. I think it's always. Find an example where this is not true. I'll be happy to see it. It's always with the sound, as in book. So it's Notice how my jaw is moving. It's closing up. Most. If you're not doing that, if you're not moving your jaw, you're not doing a diphthong, right? So it's gonna sound a little bit off. it's probably like 90% really good, but we're just going to notice that little thing. So diphthongs can be really important. Oh, look what we have here. We have our little as an umbrella sound again. We've done the M, we've done the ST, we've done the umbrella sound. This should be perfect, right? It's m, m. My tongue is in the middle for that umbrella sound. My two lips are closed, so my tongue is already in the middle, waiting, right? M, 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 m. And then my tongue goes up for the S and the T. Must, 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 must. Number 258 now on this one. We had most, we had must, now we have a new sound right here. And I think we already talked about this bilabial, that's in my name, Bianca, right? M, two lips, air coming out my nose, and also cat hair making me itchy on my nose. B, right? B's and M's are both bilabials. We use our two lips for them. So the difference is the air, number one, is going in my nose, and number two, with B, I have to explode it, right? But again, my lips are busy, so my tongue is not, and my tongue can go, guess where? To the sound. So my tongue is in the front, my jaw is open, a little more wide than you're probably used to when you see the letter E, because the letter E in most languages is a little bit more closed in the jaw. So open up a little more. Be, be, be. Then what? My tongue comes up for the ST. Best, 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 best. Most, must, best, for example. Actually, let's go back. I'm going to go all the way to the beginning. And let's see that list so far. We've got just, first, last, most, and best. Oh, sorry, missed one. Must. We've got one more, then the bonus. So let's get back to that. Okay, and it should be this one. As we said, bilabial, B versus M, we know the difference. Open, tongue is in the front, as in bed, right? Here we go. Next one. We have that L at the beginning of the word. We said we have two kinds of L's. When it's at the beginning, it's the regular L. Now, look at the IPA spelling and look at the actual word. Is it list or least? Because I see in the IPA, in the phonetic spelling, I've got this I that looks like an I. So I think, oh yeah, L-I-S-T, list, right? But in IPA, the I sounds, like we talked about, there's different A sounds, there's different kind of I sounds, right? And this is the one that people have trouble with, is the other one, right? So if you know, I'm going to the beach, and what up, like that's the distinction we're talking about right now. So this one is E, like beach, least. The spelling is L-E-A-S-T, least. So when I see it, I might be a little bit confused, but this is what we call long I. This is the one that is, I think, the most common in worldwide languages, the sound that's most common, the vowel sound in worldwide languages. I believe that to be true, but yeah, guys, let me know if you know any different. So E is me smiling, E. Almost no space in my jaw. My jaw is almost closed. My tongue is where? You can't see it probably, but it's in the front. E, lee. So my tongue is at the top of the bump for the L. Then it goes down and I'm smiling for the E. Lee. Then what does my tongue do? It goes back up for the S and and explodes for the T. Least. So if you don't know long I and short I go through this quite a lot, right? And in fact, I believe it's in the next word too. So least, not list. The problem for most people is they're going to say list. They can't do the short I, so they're going to say, oh, where's my shopping list, right? And then that would be a mistake there. So usually it's the other way around. So let's look at this. Today we happen to be doing the ST clusters at the end of a word, because why? Last week I did the ST clusters at the beginning of the words in the most important words. And so there's one in the top 365 and all the 365, just one, where the ST is in the middle of the word. So I thought, let me include that in this list, right? This list, this list, not least, but list. So here's the ST cluster in the middle. And it's interesting too, because you can kind of see how it's broken up, right, between the syllables. And that depends on the dictionary that you're looking at. Sometimes they will put the cluster together on one side or together on the other side. Sometimes they'll split it down the middle, right? Depends how it is. But it doesn't matter. Even if it's split up in the way that you see it, there's a space there. That doesn't mean that there's a pause. That just means that I'm connecting that speech anyways. It's still a cluster. So, st, st, st. I'm going to start with an S. I'm going to talk about that short I in a second. And then I finish with the M. We've seen this rotated E before. That's our schwa. So let's start at the end. I've got st, st, st. My tongue, after the T, I explode it. It's going to naturally fall perfectly in the position of the schwa. St, st, stum. My tongue is in position for the schwa. I just need to use my lips to make the M to finish it off. So, st, 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 stum, 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 stum. So then, if I think about a brother, but of the female persuasion, I would say sister, no, system. Start on the top, then our short I. What's the difference between our long I, E, and our I? Well, first of all, take a look at my lips. Very relaxed. So, but system, our schwa, my tongue is where? In the middle. But my jaw is the same height. My tongue just needs to move forward, but I'm just keeping my lips relaxed. My tongue is in the front. My jaw is a little bit more open than the long I. Sis, sis. So my tongue is up on the bump, goes down, back up for the S. Sis, sis, system. Then my lips come in. System, system, system. This is my system for teaching pronunciation. Really thinking about where's the articulation, what's involved, and then what's next, right? How do I transition from sound to sound? That is how I build good muscle memory. Here's one thing we didn't talk about, syllable stress. I believe this is the only 2-syllable word on our list today. On our list today. So what does that mean then? I think about which one is stressed and which one is not stressed. So how do I know? That's a little hash mark, we might call it, at the top. That's going to tell me that this is the stressed syllable. Cool. I can label it. What does that mean? That means I take the vowel in there and I make it 3 things: longer, louder, and higher in pitch. So it's system, system, longer, louder, and higher. System, system, da, 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 da. System, system, system. So I want to articulate it very clearly, but then I have to consider on top of that, maybe elongating it for the stress, right? Or shortening it in the case it's not the stress syllable. I had my S's, I have my schwa, and we had our M, our nasal. So whew, that was already a lot of things. And like I said, this is how I like to teach. So I also like to come live to be available to answer any questions and to kind of show you how I teach and what I find to be important and really effective in English. Well, I should say in American English. If that's what you're looking for, right? You can maybe look for just speaking more clearly, just having more confidence, just knowing like, oh, that's what the dark L is, right? Just, excuse me, just knowing makes you feel so much better. As like I was saying, most of my clients, when they first come to me, they've got a lot of catching up to do. the problem is not that, oh, somebody says, oh, where are you from? And they don't like that, or like, how, I can't understand you. If that's the case, why wouldn't we start with the most important words? And that's why I put numbers on these today, because a lot of times people are shocked. They're like, wait, what? I didn't even realize that I was saying it wrong. Well, of course not, because your brain has convinced itself that it's right. And it probably wasn't corrected or often enough to say, ooh, wait, there's a mistake here. There's a gap, right? So no. There's a lot of words that you say literally every day, at least every week, in those top 365 that, wow, if you could just fix those, everything you say would sound better literally every day when you're speaking. So if you're not sure, even if you have mistakes, or if you know you do and you don't know what they are, or if you know what they are and you don't know how to fix them, and you find that my method is helpful for you, then you can see that even without me being there, and so far I haven't even had any questions today, even without me being there, this is something, if you know my method and you follow along, then you can absolutely fix these things yourself. So nobody's just helped you before, that's all. But I'm here to do that. So everyone's like, oh, I want to feel more confident. Oh, confidence, confidence, confidence. Hey, me too. Like in Spanish and French and Arabic and my other languages, like, of course I want to feel more confident. I know I'm making mistakes. I don't usually have somebody that helps me, as much as I would like, but I know that confidence is the result of doing something, and the result of doing it better, and knowing that you're doing it better than you did before. So people always want confidence. Well, confidence is the result. So if you want more clarity, if you want to be more confident, then the thing that I would suggest you start with, you don't even need me there. I mean, I'll be there. I'll be in these videos for you every day, is you can do this training bundle. So it's the 365 accent training bundle. Why? Every day. I want you to go a little baby steps every day. 2-3 minutes every video. You've seen, we go through one word. It takes about 2 minutes, and I explain all the articulation. I explain how to put it together. Where's your tongue? What's your jaw doing? What about your lips? And the voicing, for example, syllable stress. I'm going to break down these words so finally your brain knows what it's doing, and it wasn't just kind of like copying and copying badly and then making those copies worse and worse and worse. So not only that, but there's some other really interesting things in the bundle, because we've got our 365 words in your inbox every day, a little video from me. Plus, every Monday, you're going to get a monologue, because a lot of people are wanting to work on their rhythm, their intonation, right, and making things sound more natural and communicate better that way. And then on Tuesdays, it's not just one word every day, but it's a really tricky, challenging phrase. And it's not just one sentence. It's like a full paragraph. It's a story of things. So you're really getting your mouth workout every day with this bundle. And I'm going to be adding stuff as we go too. I'm going to add minimal pairs and other things too. So if you get this bundle, you'll always get the upgrades as well. So it's called the 365 Accent Training Bundle. It's my signature, let's say, series, and it's a tool that you can use, and you don't have to show up for class. You don't have to record yourself if you don't want to. You just open your email, which you're going to do anyways, right? And don't forget, guys, if you're watching this live, if it happens to be the fact that you're watching it live or relatively soon afterwards, today's Tuesday. On Thursday, we have a free event in the community, and this week we're doing the storytelling event, and I will show you the 9 sentences that make the perfect story, and you're going to get some practice, and you're going to get feedback, because I'm all about the feedback. And then if you are in the community, then also the last Thursday of the month is when we have our free masterclass as well. And I'll see you next week here live, if that's what you're into lately. And if not, these videos are great to watch later on. So thank you guys so much for coming today, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody, and I'll see you in the community as well. Of course, all the links are